review session, and I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock and ask that we all stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item on the agenda is review and approval of the items of consent. And they are as follows. The meeting minutes of the April 23rd, 2018 meeting. Accounts payable manifest, May 8th, $40,774.42, and May 15th, the $58,769.92. Payroll manifest, May 10th, $52,599.67. And May 17th, $53,042.89. We have a timber tax levy, $2,689.48. We have a 2016 tax supplement warrant, 2016 and 17. We have the Department of Revenue Administration MS 123 form. We have a veterans credit approval. We have an elderly exemption. We have one approval and one denial. And we have April 2018 reconciliations for both the town clerk and the tax collector. Are there any items that any of the members would like to have removed for further review?
No.
Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve. So moved by Mr. Bork.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schaefer. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 5-0-0.
Four.
Are there?
Four.
I'm sorry, four. Thank you. Mr. Brunel is out of town for tonight's meeting, so he will not be joining us. Are there any additional items that members would like to have added to the agenda at this time? Okay. Public input will occur no earlier than 6:15 p.m., and we will head right into the regular order of business. And the item one on the agenda is river access facility. And we have our two community activists that spearheaded this.
Organizers.
Organizers, not activists.
Very active.
Yeah.
Jason Brennan is going to apparently give the update.
Yep.
And he, of course, he brought his sidekick for moral support.
Wow. You've been relegated to sidekick, huh?
Well, you know what? You heard these meetings get rough, so.
He's the muscle. Troy, any introduction?
So just for the board's just background, you know that the river access facility has been constructed. The subcommittee, which Jason and Pete are members of, we're down there. They've started to do some of the landscaping around the parking lot area, which is wooden guardrails to secure that area, make sure we don't have vehicles going off onto the agricultural fields. What I've asked Jason to come this evening is give you an update, but more specifically to talk to the board about the entrance of the facility, because the board has heard, over the last 6 months through the budget process and when this was going through the planning board approval process, different discussions about how we're going to really kind of secure the facility, and that starts at the entrance. And I wanted to make sure before the volunteers go out there, raise money, put sweat equity into the project, that everyone's in agreement on what we end up doing. So with that,
Okay.
I'll let you talk about the vinyl fences, rocks versus big wood fence, and
Exactly.
all that stuff.
And again, I'll start by thanking you for your
For the record.
efforts.
Oh.
And I think I speak for everyone that having you people do this is certainly, I don't know that we any of us expected it to come to fruition as quickly, but with all of the positive feedback and efforts that you people have put in, here it is.
Yeah.
Congratulations and thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. A lot of effort went in to this from the whole committee. For the record, I'm Jason Brennan, 23 Aldrich Street, and
Pete Salidas, 31 Pearson Street.
And we're here for two things. Going to try to move quickly. One, to give you a quick update, and two, to talk about the landscaping recommendations and options. Quick update, as you've probably seen if you've driven down Route 3A, the road is in. The driveway's in, the parking area's in, and the path down to the river is in. In actuality here, this is the conceptual plan. It was pretty much built like the conceptual plan, with the exception of the path down to the river kind of goes over here and stops. At this point in time, it's a natural path down the river from there because there's some woods in there. And, it's a natural trail essentially down there. And so everything has been put in basically up to here. We're going to keep this as is, probably just clean up some of the brush, and we should be pretty much good to go. And this is a view from the parking area looking kind of toward 3A. And Continental Paving, who did the work here, we can't just thank them enough for this. It wouldn't have been done without them. As you know, they donated the time, the labor, the materials, the equipment. They gave us engineering insight on this, and it was done in like 3 days. And it was a bigger job than I think any of us really anticipated it would be, because they had to dig down pretty far. If you went down during construction, they went down there a good solid 2 feet. They put in a really good road base, and then they ended up topping it with reclaimed pavement. And so it actually gets pretty firm and it won't wash out. And they did a really great job. In addition to that little path down to the river, we had spec'd out at 3 feet. That would meet ADA compliance for wheelchair access. They actually ended up making it 6 or 8 feet wide. So it's a really nice, gentle sloping path down to the river. So just wanted to give a big thanks to them. Couldn't have done it without them. And then also Jeffrey Land Surveying in town did all the surveying for us for free. So everything that you see right now has been at no cost to the taxpayer. So that's the update. The landscaping recommendations. So just talk a little bit about the big picture here. As far as landscaping goes, we basically have 5, trying to think about this in my head, how to get it across to you as easy as possible. We basically have 5 major landscaping components here. Number 1 is the fencing around the parking lot. Number 2 is some little fencing up by the road. Number 3 is some sort of fencing or border along the driveway. Number 4 is a wood or a sign at the entrance. And number 5 is a gate that will go across there. In addition to this wood sign, there'll be a wood sign over here as well, stating some rules, and then maybe a couple of down by the river just for some additional rules that we're working on that right now. So what I wanted to do is kind of go through each one of those. In regards to number 1, the area around the parking lot, we've already started that and got pre-approval from Troy to support that. And essentially what we're doing is we're building a low-profile guardrail, same specifications as Sawmill, looks just like Sawmill. Technically, it's 4x6 posts and 2x8 rails, and it'll look just like that. Low, about 2 feet off the ground, right around, won't be big, won't be ugly, just contain everybody within a specific area. We started that last weekend. Hopefully, we're going to put a big dent in it this weekend. If it doesn't pour every weekend, we'll see what happens. Regarding those other 4 pieces, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the entrance fence, the driveway, the sign, and the gate, the committee got together a few weeks back and went over all the different options and kind of priced them out, looked what budget we had, tried to fit it to the budget. We actually had a little straw poll that we put through everybody and just tried to gauged everybody's interest. And so I'm going to walk through each one of these. And then I think at the end we can have discussion, and either our hope tonight is that you say, yeah, go ahead with your recommendation. Or if you like one of the options, we can discuss that and see if we can make that happen. So the options were discussed and voted on by the River Subcommittee. So that item number 2, the entrance fence, that's the key thing that you're going to see right when you come in off of 3A. We had basically laid out 3 options: the wood split rail type of fence, a white vinyl fence, or granite posts with like chains along them. This is kind of like, I wouldn't call it the low end, but as far as kind of like you're going up in cost as you go from left to right. This would run the first 50 feet off of 3A. And where that stopped, that's where that metal gate, that's the fifth thing, will end up swinging open. Running about 100 foot of this wood fence right here is about $800. That would be 50 feet down. If we ended up going with vinyl, it'd be about $1,200. If we ended up doing something funky, it could be, I don't know, several $1,000s. Based on what the committee had voted on, it was overwhelming that we should go with that wood type of fence. That's actually what runs along by Griffin School, by the soccer fields there. That's what runs along by Normanton Farm has that type of thing. It's got the kind of look and feel of agricultural, rustic. So we think that's going to be about $800. So that's what we're thinking about up there. So I think I'll do it. Let me roll through this and then we can discuss it in total. The driveway border. We basically, so this would be going, bearings here, there's the fence, the first 50 feet. The driveway border is this going down there. We basically have 3 viable options. Actually 4. 1, do nothing and just leave it the way it is. If you do that, someone could get off onto the field and tear it up or do something like that, do donuts. Number 2 would be put boulders down there every 8 feet or so, just like you see right there in the lower left-hand picture. Number 3 would be the low profile fence like we're running around the parking lot. Run that all the way down there, the length of that entire distance, which is about 250 feet or so from the edge of that 50-foot fence to the parking area. Or number 3 would be to run the split rail fence, the wood split rail fence all the way down there as well. The really 2 viable options that popped up that people were thinking of were these 2, either the boulders or the low profile fence. The boulders, we think, we don't know what the cost would that be. We'd have to talk to Continental Paving. They had said they had boulders, so we'd have to talk to them and they would lay them down or we'd have to get somebody to lay them down every 10 feet. The low profile fence, we could put in ourselves and it would probably cost about $2,000 additional in lumber to run that down there. The voting from the committee, we had 12 people on there, 13 people voting. I would probably say that 75% voted boulders, 25% voted that low profile fence. I think the thought was the boulders were something quick and easy to do at no cost. If we ever wanted to change it out, we probably could. So that's what we're looking at on the border going down the road. The entrance sign. I had a lot of discussion on the entrance sign. I kind of went a little bit crazy here, but we basically had four options. Number 1, the standard Litchfield Park sign that you see up at Sawmill. Number 2, let's do something cool and get a couple of cool granite posts and put the Litchfield Park sign in those granite posts and kind of make it a little more upscale. Number 3 would be a boulder, and number 4 would be something completely different, like an old post with a little sign that says Litchfield Landing or whatever we name this thing, something we got to talk about. And taking a look at the costs, this would probably be about $500. This would probably be maybe a little over $1,000. These 2, I think, are out just because we can't put enough information on these 2 things that says like Litchfield residents only. The sign's going to end up saying that. When we took a poll of the folks, pretty much everybody was just in favor of doing what we currently have right now to keep it standard with the other signs that we have. Plus, that's a low cost and it looks like the other parks in town. Gate, we really only have one option, and that is the standard metal locking gate that you can get, and they're about $800 in that vicinity. And if you look at a glance, hard to see here, but the prices range, and it's on the printout that I gave you. It's actually in this one right here. So these 2 handouts, one's a copy of the PowerPoint. The second is the backup of all the information, all the pricing that we have. Yep. There. So if you look on the last page there, it basically gives a breakout of the cost. But I think I simplified it. Right here. If we go with what the committee recommends, we know we have a budget we have $5,000 set aside for this. If we go with what the committee recommends, the fence around the parking lot will probably be around $1,200 to $1,400. The wood split rail fence will probably be $800 to $1,000. Rocks along the driveway to be determined. The sign, the entrance one in the second. But we also had a little poll on whether or not we should put a few cameras down there, even like the normal game cameras. That was one of the extras. And then this would be like miscellaneous signage that might be down by the river. And so that's where we're at. So let me go back up to here. In summary, there wasn't a consensus, but I think we were pretty close on it. In summary, the committee wanted to go with the wood split rail entrance fence, boulders down the driveway, the standard Litchfield entrance sign, and the standard lockable gate.
How wide's that road?
About 20 feet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and then in the back of the driveway.
Oh, John Bryant, I thought he was going to be here. John Bryant actually there's going to be a second gate down here, right over here, that could be open for the fire department to go down that 8-foot road down there now. And so it won't look like this, John Bryant.
I think he said, yeah, it's going to be like a.
He's got something in his mind. So
He's developed it before. So.
Yeah.
Because it's along the state highway, if we're within their right of way, it actually gets complicated, and it's a wooden sign, so maybe it doesn't. But
okay,
if you're in the right of way, you'll have to get a permit, and then you need to. It may have to meet some type of standard for breakaway if a car hits it or something. So it's
Okay.
standard.
I don't think we'll be in the right of way because the bound is there, and I think that right of way is actually pretty thin.
All right.
It's only about 5 feet off the road. For us to put that in, we would be probably.
Yeah. So you're.
The
Yeah.
actual bound is like right here.
Yeah.
You know, we would be.
So you'll be out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't
Mr.
need
Moore.
one for mine.
You ready? So first thing, you guys talk about cameras, right?
Yes.
Is there any other facility that you guys are aware of in town that we have cameras on?
No.
Okay. So
I'm not the expert though.
no, I know. But with that being said, I don't think that we truly need cameras down there because there's nothing else. I know speaking to the police chief, they said that they were going to be doing patrol down there. I would say monitor that. Where we have no other, I guess, why would we start there if we don't have any?
I think it was
any
brought
protests?
up as to appease the people that were against it.
I get it. I'm just saying, there's no, and we don't really have much issues with the other fields or other areas in town. So that would be the first thing. Second thing, that the split rail fence.
Mhm.
Now that's just regular lumber, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is I personally, in the past, have put the split rail fences in, and they don't last. So you only get a couple years out of them tops. So to me, the investment for the vinyl would be much better than the split rail because it's very low maintenance. You really don't have to maintain it. With a split rail, that's going to be something where they shrink, they come apart, they really don't stay together. So those are my two
Yeah,
things.
especially if it's not pressure treated or.
Yeah.
It would
They're just
be.
going to rot away. And if people sit on those things,
Right.
I mean, they sit on the plastic, they would probably break too.
Well, the snow throw
Say
too.
the snow,
Like you get the
yeah.
plows going by during the winter,
Salt.
they're gonna be banging snow against that fence.
So
it's gonna hold up.
give you a little bit of specs on that is we went to Gate City Fence, and this right here is like the kind of the top end wood fence that you can get. I
So they
believe
have
it's like
thicker posts.
cedar.
and
it's like
everything.
cedar.
Yeah.
Thank
If it's cedar, then,
Well,
then
that's
much different.
Yeah.
But if you go to the farm that's down here, he doesn't have cedar.
No,
And
it's
you
just,
can already see that
Yeah.
that's not going to last.
Where my
You know,
house is,
So that's my
I'm-
concern. If it's cedar, I have no issue.
okay.
where my house is on 3A, I can't put a piece of wood in the ground. Apparently, there was a sawmill there years ago. I have termites come right up and eat the thing within a season.
Oh.
I can't, it's incredible. So I don't know how many other
Yeah.
places along with our sandy soil, You know,
Mhm.
so that's a consideration too. So I really think,
I think for the $400 that's going to cost, above and beyond the wood, I think the vinyl's the way to go. But that's my opinion.
my overall question is, and Troy, maybe you can help me with this. You know, I know we've been through this. Who is going to have overall jurisdiction?
Forest maintenance.
This will become, this will become like a park. It's going to be recreation department. You know, it's going to be considered a park.
Okay.
So as far as if we put the fence up and 8 years down the road, a section of it falls down, the rec department would be responsible for putting it back up.
Okay. My only concern is that the rec department is on board and with this, that they are going to know that this is going to become their responsibility. And the land is conservation land, right?
That's right.
So now how do we mix rec and conservation? We just have to make sure.
That's, yeah. And so that's later this evening, there's a memorandum of understanding that I've drafted up and I asked the board to approve this evening, which lays out the fact that the rec department will take on this responsibility, conservation will do its part.
Perfect.
So it lays it out. And I have the conservation, they've signed off on it. The chairman of the rec commission supports it. He just wasn't, he did come in, but unfortunately wasn't here, so he wasn't able to sign it.
Yep.
We even had a spot for Jason to sign. I don't know why. But
All right.
I think because you're the chairman of the committee. So.
Yeah, I just want to make
Well,
sure.
I think it's because of the rules of engagement until your committee
All right.
is dissolved, right?
Okay.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
my last question about insurance.
So we'll be adding this to our insurance, just like any other park. Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be part of the overall package.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know that it will cause a rate increase because we do. Isn't it something like fleet?
No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't.
I'm just trying to ferret all
Yeah,
of
it's
this
not
stuff
gonna-
out, make sure everything is all set. It's
not gonna be a beach.
Caught with something.
We're not going to be operating a beach,
Okay.
so it's it's going to be. It'll be signed, and there's some risk obviously involved, but it's nothing.
Yep.
Here's John.
Sorry, Ken.
So
Hi. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you're all set.
Now, wait a second. You guys haven't decided. So,
Yeah,
John,
let's go.
we just went through the whole process and the options of the fencing and the white fencing and the wood fencing and the rocks versus the low profile guardrail. I think what Troy wanted is for you to give us direction on what you feel the end.
No
will be.
problem. We can do that for you.
All right.
I just, again, with all of the work that you've done, I don't want to make it sound like, if we're going to, committed just, but I think that we may be in general agreement that the lower end fence is probably not the best way. I think we would like to see you go with the next level up fencing.
the cedar.
The vinyl fence.
Wait a second. Vinyl or cedar?
Oh, the cedar though. The cedar. If it's
If
okay.
it's cedar, I have no issue because cedar, I mean,
Okay.
they'll last.
Okay.
But if it's just a regular split fence, just a regular pine stuff, that stuff's going to rot away in no time. So
Right.
if it's
Okay,
cedar, I have no issue.
You're okay with split rail, you just want seated split rail.
Correct.
Right, because
Correct.
we're
Correct.
afraid.
I'm all for that.
Okay.
Yeah. I have
No
issue.
question.
With the exception of
I
that,
don't want
I
pine.
agree with everything
I
that
don't
you
want
guys
pine anything out
have
there.
laid out.
No, like I was just telling my house, you put something in the
Exception
ground,
of
and then
cameras.
within 20 days, the termites have eaten it right up through.
We thought you wanted to head towards vinyl, but
No,
They were.
whatever works so that the bugs won't get it, and so that it will not
Cedar's the best for
become
that.
Yeah, cedar.
Okay. perfect.
And I also think if the boulders are going to be a deterrent, they have to be spaced closer together so a vehicle
Yes.
can't get through it. So 10 feet maybe
Yeah, it's really a
a little
car can
wide.
go through that, yeah.
Just go right through it.
Yep.
But I
Okay.
like the boulders personally.
I like the boulders,
I
too.
think it's very nice aesthetically.
Okay.
I've
So-
seen some parks where with planting between the boulders, you do a planting, either a bush or a blue spruce tree or something like that. There's that opportunity to do that. That can
Okay.
come later.
Yep.
The
Great-
rocks-
great
the
projects
rocks are actually
for-
on the roadway, though. I mean, planning, we'd have to actually cut through the roadway to do that. The goal and lack of maintenance, they made the road wider. We want to run the rocks right along on the roadway itself because we've got plenty of room to do it.
Oh,
And
you
we don't
do?
have weed growth coming around it. And you can farm right up to the edge of the
There
roadway.
you go.
Okay.
And we're trying to shrink the footprint as well.
Yeah.
Instead of Continental actually made the road, I believe it was 22 feet. So we can set the rocks on
We
the
got plenty of room.
on the edge of the road and still have plenty of room to go through there.
Now, the entrance sign, personally, I think standardizing and having like the Sawmill Brook sign, I think that's a great
I
idea.
agree, yeah.
Okay.
One at the top, one at the bottom.
That's certainly fine.
Yep.
The thing is, as far as naming it, I would ask
Neil John.
personally, you people haven't come up with the names.
Nope.
And I'll defer to my colleagues too, but I think it would be a great idea that the committee, because you've done all the work, maybe come up with some suggestions as to what, might be named, bring that back to us with take a vote and see what was most, what the favorite ones were.
Yep.
And bring it back to us and then.
We put it out there.
I'm sorry?
People's input. Is it okay if we put it out there? What's up page, rec page, ask for people's input?
You can, but I'm thinking your best way to do it is to have your committee. Since, you've done all the work with that. You know the nuances. You know everything about it. You've dealt with the landowners. You've done everything. Personally, I think that you should consult the committee, have the committee come forth with a recommendation.
And I want you to consider whitewater death roll or something like that.
Right.
No.
Hey, we'll throw that on the list.
Just real quick, when do you guys see public having access to this?
Good question.
Well, a few people have asked me when it's going to be open because they know it's done, or the road's done, I should say.
We are hoping, I would probably say realistically in June, right? And wouldn't you say so?
I'd say sometime in June.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
Quite honestly, Continental, this all happened so fast that we were a little bit behind the 8 ball with some of the things that we had to do procedurally that we're in catch-up mode.
Now, John, I know we talked about this at the rec. I think we talked about it being only open 5 to 6 months a year. I don't know. Give us your thoughts on something like that.
Running the river anytime January through April is kind of crazy.
Yep.
So I would say sometime in May would be opportunities to open the river, taking a look at, the conditions down there and so forth. If it's humming like it was 2 weeks ago, we have no need to open it. If somebody wants to run whitewater, there's plenty of rivers in northern Maine to do that on.
Does Fish and Game or do Marine Patrol or whoever has jurisdiction over the inland
absolutely.
water, do they provide warnings or do they suggest times where you should close
That I'm
river
aware of,
access?
no. That I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
They provide warnings
Sure.
for everything.
But that'd be something once you get up and going.
Right, but unlike some of the rivers in Maine, the real whitewater rafting rivers, where they close the entranceways, but they can't keep you off the river. They can close the entryways, but they still, people still climb on there even with the entryways closed.
Well, when are you thinking of locking the gate for the winter? What's a good month, or what have you guys thought of? October, November?
We talked to the committee about November-ish,
Okay.
in that time frame.
Now we talked about not plowing it, but then everybody says it's a great way for the fire department to get down to the river if they ever have to. But if it's not plowed, and I don't think we
Well, the
should.
thing is,
If it's not plowed, you call Jack and say, hey, the fire department's got to go down there.
well, the fire department, I believe, has a vehicle that can plow it
Yeah, they do have.
Yeah.
if they need it.
I mean, I'm not asking for it to get on a plow.
I think if
detail,
you do
because
it regularly, it might be an issue, but I think
Yeah, I think if an emergency is coming, if we needed access, we gain access.
Smash
That's
through it
simple.
with a plow. Yeah.
Jason, what was your fourth? Did we have another issue that you need?
There was the split, the fence we got, the sign we got, the rocks we got, and the gate. Those are the only four things that we were in here for.
John, did you want to touch base? You weren't here when they were talking about the gate down below. They said you have some
You
sort
have
of.
something in your mind.
Basically, I've got a 2x8 construction of a 12-foot gate that's just, it's a lift up.
Okay.
Talked to the police chief. I haven't talked to the fire chief yet, but I did talk to, I think, a fire lieutenant about having a chain of locks like we used to have at Darapon. 3 locks, one for the rec commission or town hall, one for the police, one for the fire. So any one of us can get in there. You unhook the lock, push the gate, it lifts up. The access through the side rail and the gate is about 5.5 to 6 feet without any chain or anything for anybody to trip over. That's their boat access. That gate goes up, I think it works out to 12 or 12.5 feet, the way the design lays
Yeah,
out.
just make sure you talk to the public safety chief.
I was with the police chief this morning. going
Okay,
over this.
great. Make sure they're on board with that and
Kevin had mentioned that we really may not necessarily need the game cam. There's no, I mean, nothing happens anywhere else. So is there a chance that,
It would have been nice to have it this weekend. I mean, somebody drove down there on Saturday, all the way down to the river, right down the
Oh,
path and
did they?
everything. Yes.
Oh.
So I placed an orange fence line at the end of the parking
I saw
lot, right
that,
across
yeah.
the front of the walkway until we're done putting the gate and the parking lot fence in and everything. So given an opportunity, somebody jumped down there anyway.
already?
We can figure that out as we go.
well, how about you guys all set with the gates?
Yeah.
So basically, the items that you needed tonight, I think by consensus, we're all set. I don't know that we need a formal motion to approve unless you want one.
Okay.
Did you talk about porta potty?
Oh, no, we hadn't brought that up yet. No.
It was brought up by
Oh,
someone in that whole thing. The rec commission, when we talked about it the other day, said that that's down the road. If
Right.
we-
I mean, the
if we see
operational
some-
stuff.
If we see
certainly-
something necessary, we'll come back and
Let's
talk
get
to you.
the
but-
this construction and the basics out of the way, and then at that point, it'll be a rec item, and certainly if you have problems, you can.
Right, and that's how we looked at it. If there's issues down there, if there's needs, then we'll address it at that point. But right now, we didn't want to put an eyesore out there for no reason.
Yeah.
You know, we did find a camouflage porta potty.
You know, what I'm thinking, we may just want to take a vote to support the recommendations of the committee as presented to the board.
Say your motion. I'll second it.
Moved second to support the recommendations of the committee as brought forth tonight, the 4 recommendations.
Cedar fence.
Cedar fence.
Right.
So it'd be cedar fence, number 1, standard Litchfield recreation sign, number 2,
Mhm.
boulders as the driveway border would be number 3, and number 4 would be the standard metal locking gate. That's the one at the top.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 400. Again,
Thank you.
thank you
Thank you.
very much for all the work that you guys have done with this.
I had just one procedural question. So our intent was just to go out and purchase this.
Oh,
And then-
okay, wait.
How do we handle that?
I would think, now what money are you using?
Recreation Commission, 5,000 we set aside for.
Yeah, we had covered.
You still need to follow the town's purchasing plan.
Yeah, but you're going to be,
A lot of them were gonna be-
nothing that you're going to purchase is going, in one purchase going to exceed
No, you're right.
3,000, is it?
Nope.
No.
It won't.
So you'll be able to just go directly to a supplier, purchase it. And if you use your personal credit card, just submit paperwork to me and we get you reimbursed.
Okay. That's
Okay.
what we'll do.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
All right, next order of business, the
I'll
lease
scan it, send it
agreement.
around to the PDF.
Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Jason, thanks
Thanks
a
a
lot.
lot.
No, thank you.
Not without you.
I know.
What's the next thing? Oh, the MOU.
Of understanding.
Okay, so we have a memorandum of understanding, which we talked about this about a month and a half ago, that lays out the background on the river access facility, how it was, the whole concept was conceived to where we're at right now. So it's basically the ground rules that will be followed. Eventually, the river subcommittee, access committee here would be dissolved. The management of this site will be under the Recreation Commission. Conservation Commission is aware of this, and through this MOU they still own the property, but they're basically giving up their rights of the day-to-day management of it.
Okay.
And definitely made it very clear, we do not want to be responsible for one penny of the cost of operating it, but Recreation will be taking that on.
So there'll be a co-signator to the, okay.
So I have the chairman of the Rec Commission, Jason Brennan, who's the chairman of the River Access Subcommittee, and Joanne McKibben, the chairman of the Conservation Commission, that has signed this. So I would forego the reading of the MOU, but definitely have a vote to approve the memorandum of understanding regarding the construction and long-term maintenance of the Merrimack River Access Facility.
Wait a minute, aren't we talking about the lease agreement?
No, we went to the.
Oh, it's all right. Because we're due to do the lease agreement.
So that's next.
334 Charles Bancroft.
I was on a lease.
That was the next item with McQuestion's.
Oh, I was doing the MOU under the river access. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the second part of the first thing.
Yeah.
Okay. My apologies. Okay, so we're all set with that then.
Yeah,
Has that
just-
been reviewed by legal?
It's this has. I don't believe I ran it past legal. Something that I just drafted myself. I don't believe it really requires a legal review.
Can I ask you at least send it up to NHMA?
I would say the same thing.
You know, while this is, you know, I feel much better having legal review, Troy.
Okay. Yeah, it's
You know, this is a whole new concept for us here.
okay. So we can do that.
And, you know, we can certainly approve it pending legal review and then just come in and sign it.
Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah, I think I'll use Laura and I'll have explain to her that it's been signed off by all parties. If there's any major deficiency, then we may have to readdress. But
Right.
I think
So
it's
I'll entertain a motion to approve pending legal review.
there you
I'll make a motion to approve the river access memorandum of understanding pending our legal approval review.
Successful legal review.
Successful legal review.
Second.
Moved, Mr. Schaefer, seconded by Mr. Bork. Question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 400. Okay, the lease. Now we get to the lease. Sorry about that, Troy.
No problem. We have a non-public at the end of this meeting, which talks about the acquisition of property or leasing the property. So I don't believe that we're going to need to go into non-public for this item. But if for some reason this conversation starts getting into a direction where we feel more comfortable in non-public, we can defer it until then. Okay. But what I have done is I've drafted this lease agreement. I worked with an agricultural lease agreement, two of them, when I worked in the town of Hollis. So had a little bit of experience and was able to use those documents as a template. This has gone through legal review, and there was only one minor comment that's been addressed. I have met with the McQuestions, and they have they've agreed to the terms and conditions of the lease agreement. So the only issue, this is the Board of Selectmen have no authority to enter into a lease agreement that exceeds 1 year. So this is just and if we want to have a discussion one day with this farmer, there is an ability for us to have a warrant article to get permission to do a multi-year agreement. If you wanted to do like a 5-year or 10-year agreement, there's always that opportunity. They've been operating on a lease agreement with the Conservation Commission just on an annual basis. They've been paying $1,500 a year. And what happened was when this river access facility came up, we started asking some questions, some legal questions. And one of the things that we learned was that the Conservation Commission didn't have the authority to enter into the lease agreement, even though they were, they purchased the land with conservation funds and they oversee the land. Only the Board of Selectmen have the authority to enter into lease agreements. So that's why this is before the board for the first time. Pretty much, there was a small written agreement with the Conservation Commission, about 3-4 sentences. And so it was pretty much sort of a handshake deal on a year-to-year basis. Now, so the real question here, and again, if we're not comfortable talking about this, is going to be cost. I contacted the Commissioner of Agriculture and had a conversation with him to try to find out what is the going rate per acre for agricultural land. And he explained to me that the range is anywhere from $0 per acre up to $100. Sometimes, very rare, you'll see $150 an acre for some real specialty type of agreement. He reminded me that when towns or even privately owned agricultural property, a hayfield, in this case, agricultural field, which is primarily used for pumpkins and corn, tomatoes, that it's actually a benefit to the town to have someone working that soil, maintaining that soil. So if you don't maintain this field, you can lose it in about 3 to 4 or 5 years. You can actually have saplings, and then you're looking at a big cost to try to reclaim the soil. So I talked to the questions, and I said, look, now we know that you were paying $1,500 every year. You've lost some acreage. How many acres do you believe you're actually farming right now? And Charlie had said, it's a good 10 acres, plus or minus. And he feels that $100 an acre is a fair price. And that's what Commissioner Jasper had said to me. That was a good price. So I think that this would be a good agreement. The annual lease would change from $1,500 to $1,000 a year. But you have to understand, we have taken, at least about 2.5 acres out of the production. And there is an area down there where the brook goes through the property, which Charlie was telling me, they're not able to farm that area. So again, if you want to have a discussion about the cost, we can go into non-public. That's the board's wishes.
You said this survived legal. We're all set with it.
This is all, the lease agreement itself has gone through legal review.
Unless there is an issue that any of the board members want, I'm fine with the way it
I'm
goes.
happy to see them coming back and farming the land.
Yeah.
This is
Good use of
big
town
for
land.
us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
Let you say it. I screwed up the last one.
So I'm just reading off the top there. Town of Litchfield, make a motion for the town of Litchfield, New Hampshire, to enter a lease agreement at 296 Charles Bancroft Highway, map 15, lot 22. We're good?
For 1 year.
For 1 year.
For I don't think we have to put the price in, or as per the agreement.
What do you want me to read that part where it says parties?
No, that's fine.
No, that's fine.
That's fine.
I think you're fine. All right, you know what the motion is, right, Deb? You're all set.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Weber. Discussion?
Nope.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0. Okay. No, Troy, I think that was, a good thing to do. Contact the Commissioner of Agriculture. I think,
I didn't know
that
where else-
works
I had
fine.
nowhere else to turn.
Right.
It's a specialty. No one these are all private lease agreements, so nobody really shares. There's no
Right.
public information on what the actual cost.
Sure.
Fire chief was in a meeting this morning with a representative from the Department of Safety, Division of Homeland Security. What the chief is looking for is to receive grant EOC. Yeah. So what he learned was that the town's actually not eligible to apply for these grants at this point in time because our emergency management plan is expired. So there's a grant program that will help you update the plan. And the maximum the town can receive is $4,500. And it requires a 50% in-kind match, which typically is all just in-house donated time and material to satisfy that match. If the board recommends that we or authorize the fire department to seek this grant funding, just that action this evening is enough that the chief can actually start putting together a grant application for the generator and the EOC equipment, as long as they know the town's committed in going forward with the updating the plan.
Okay. I'll defer to my colleagues for a motion.
I move to authorize the fire department to seek grant funding from the New Hampshire Department of Safety, Division of Homeland Security in the amount of $4,500 with a 50% in-kind match requirement to update the town's emergency operation plan.
Moved by Mr. Schaefer,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Weber. Discussion. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0-0. Okay, Mr. Brown. Tax warrant. Oh. We have to do this, huh?
First issue.
Huh?
The first issue. The first tax.
Yep. Is there a motion to approve the tax warrant as so presented? We just looked at it here and we have to approve it.
Is there any language on it?
No, it just was given to me today, so there's no tab on it. We just need a motion to approve
The warrant
the
to,
first issue.
for spring tax warrant, 2018.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to approve 2016 tax.
18.
18?
2018.
Oh, I'm reading the wrong thing. Sorry. All right,
Yeah.
2018.
I'll second it.
Moved by Mr. Bork, seconded by Mr. Schaefer to approve the 2018
First issue.
first year or first biennial tax warrant. Is there a second? Any questions?
We're all confused.
Okay. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0-0.
Damn it.
Holy moly. Okay. Right now, I'm going to take a little break to open up the floor for public input, and seeing no members of the public present, I will have no choice but to close public input. So on to the next item. Albuquerque travel lane with the discussion.
That all disappeared, what was done today.
Did
None of us saw it.
Couldn't see it. No, so we put down chalk. So anyhow, so back on March 26th, you had a resident come forward, talk to the Board of Selectmen about the travel lane width on Albuquerque. So Albuquerque is approximately 6 miles long. At the meeting, the resident was suggesting that if we decrease the width of the travel lane to 10 feet, that it would slow traffic. It would increase the life expectancy of the road, and also would allow a safe area for cyclists to travel. So we kind of left it. I'm not sure how we left it. The issue kind of came up as I found out the road agent had begun the spring striping of our roads. And when I learned of this, I asked him to hold off on Albuquerque because I wasn't really sure what the position of the board is on whether or not you want to change the position of the travel width of Albuquerque.
Well, we were going to seek counsel from the fire chief, police chief, and the road agent,
Right. So I've
which you've done.
which I've done. It's the road agent. You know, I don't believe he supports it, but really, honestly, for what he does, it doesn't impact him either way. You can see the police chief, his voiced concerns, which I didn't really think too much about the proposed fire station coming here, and this is going to be a main artery for these the rescue vehicles
Right.
going up and down the road. So it's not supported by the police chief. One of the things we didn't realize was that the cost involved in trying to remove the fog line. So there's two ways of doing it. The best way to do it is to grind the fog line. You actually grind it off, and it's $1 a foot to do that type of grinding. So the cost is just, unacceptable. It's $63,000. The other way is to remove the fog line is to paint over it with a dark color. And I guess based on experience from this one applicator, he told us you can expect to paint over it once every 3 years because it will fade and eventually this white will still show through. And so that was estimated at $15,000 just to stripe over it. And you could be looking at that cost again in a couple of years. Right now, the cost is $2,500 a year to just repaint over the existing fog line. Me personally, I think that we're better served by leaving the lanes as they are. We've had only one resident that I've heard comments about, so I've not heard a lot of residents coming forward and asking for us to change the travel width. I wouldn't support using taxpayers' dollars to undo what we've done. And I think that if we did change the width, I think that then we would be hearing a lot of complaints and concerns from the residents after we've already done something.
Now, wasn't the resident speaking of 3A, not Albuquerque?
Well, he was talking about 3A.
He started
Because he-
3.
3A, and I thought
Started
you-
3A.
It spilled over.
Which the board already had previously we had already taken a position on this. The board had voted not to change the travel width. We had a meeting with the police, road agent, fire, a very large trucking company in town, and DOT officials and official from the Regional Planning Commission. And that group discussed the matter, and it just didn't make any sense to do it. And we brought that back to this board.
Right.
And so the problem that Mr. Fisk had is that he was saying that the information I brought forward to the public was incorrect. He's stating that he only requested that the travel lane widths be decreased. It had nothing to do with creating a bikeway.
Right. His concern was the speed.
With speed.
It was speed. And personally, looking at this to me supports my view that we should not decrease it. These fire trucks, I know I've driven them, they're 8 feet wide. You put a 10-foot road, that's would be scary. That'd be very scary. And I don't think we have that much of a problem. Apparently the chief of police doesn't feel we have that much of a speed problem that would warrant this. And so I will support his suggestion, and I'll entertain a motion that we do not support any reduction in our lane width.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bork,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Weber. Any further discussion, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0-0. Okay, cemetery trustees, correspondence. Mr. Adams wants us to.
There is, several, 3 questions here. Why don't we take time to read through them again? I'm thinking that some of these are going to need legal counsel's
I was gonna say,
response,
well,
because I'm
this,
not an expert.
I
in
don't
this
think
area.
that we have that jurisdiction. I thought the trustees had to do that.
I when I received this, I wanted to make sure the board was aware of it, and then I think that we should probably forward it on to legal counsel for
I agree.
guidance.
Okay.
Right.
Because you're dealing with real estate rights.
Correct.
Technically.
Yes.
So any issues? Okay, we don't even need a motion. We'll send that to legal, please,
Okay.
Troy, for a determination. Okay, purchasing policy, review and update.
I want to apologize. What happened here?
I thought we did,
Well, you did this at your last meeting, so. And we updated a lot of the vendors in Appendix A and did a couple other amendments. But when Karen and I started looking at it again, we realized that in Section 2 is the one area that we should have brought to the board's attention to really clarify the purchase order issue. And the auditors are in right now, and they've been asking a lot of questions about our purchasing procedures. And they were questioning how, the different levels that trigger the approval from the town administrator and the board of selectmen. And so two things I'm suggesting is that we add this new language, which makes it very clear that the town administrator will approve purchase orders from $5,000 but less than 12. So anything that's $5,000 but less than 12,000, the town administrator is required to sign a purchase order before any commitments made towards the purchase of goods, services, capital. And at the Board of Selectmen, you would be consulted on your agenda for anything $12,000 or more. It's the way it's supposed to be, but it's not very clear in the existing policy. And I think this really does make it crystal clear. The second thing is that we're concerned that the threshold of $3,000 is low for today's environment. There's a lot of stuff that we purchased $3,000, which is pretty standard purchases. And we're suggesting that at the town administrator level, that we change it from $3,000 to $5,000, leaving it up to the best, the discretion of the department head for anything under $5,000.
gentlemen, comments or questions?
I have no issue with that.
Nope, good.
So it'll be with that approval, when you vote, you'll see that there'll be, going forward, anything that's being purchased for $12,000 or more will be on your agenda.
Okay. Accept a motion, gentlemen, to approve the amended language in the purchasing policy.
I'll make a motion to approve the town of Litchfield purchasing policy reviewed and amended on April 23 of 2017.
We should do it
Today's
date.
date, yeah.
Today.
May-
Okay. Sorry, the header's not.
May 14th of 2018.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Weber, seconded by Mr. Schaefer. Questions, comments, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0-0. You will change the heading.
Yes.
Okay. All right, purchase order approval for line striping. Hey, I'm glad that we're not stripping the lines. Is there a motion to approve the line striping as presented in the folder that our road agent would like to have done?
I move to authorize a purchase order in the amount of $14,484.30 to the industrial traffic lines for the striping of town roads.
Moved by Mr. Weber,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Bork. Questions, comments, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0-0. 1819 plow contracts, Mr. Brown.
Okay. So, As you know, a few months ago, we started hearing that some of the contracted plow drivers would not be returning this year. And we're at the point now where of what we know at this time of what the status is of people that are going to return and where we think we have a vacancy. So Jack and I we've looked at the purchasing policy and trying to figure out where this fits in, and we're having a hard time with it. And one of the reasons is that when we contract with a driver, if they provide their own truck, we take and mount all of our sanding and salting equipment on their truck and the wing and the plow frame. And it's quite a bit of time and effort involved in mounting that equipment. So typically, there's an understanding that if you're going to become a contracted plow truck driver, this isn't just a 1-year commitment. It's something that you've expressed interest in. You're going to do it for several years. And it's not, the cost of each contract could be anywhere from, I think we have a minimum guarantee price of about $8,000 a year. And so you depending on the year, we could pay out $12,000. So how do you competitively put this out on the market and we're kind of wondering if at this point in time, if the board would be acceptable for us just putting an announcement on our website, in a newspaper, just saying that we're seeking interested, contractors.
I would
and
definitely
not
think
an
that
actual bid.
We need to put it out, a request for proposals.
Well, see,
Could we get a bid?
see,
for
we have a
hourly
fit. That's the
rate?
problem. I don't.
What did Laura say?
I didn't ask her. But we don't. If I put it out for bids or proposals, then they can kind of name their own price. We have a set contract price.
Okay.
At $75 per hour.
Here's another thing. There was some issues. I know that people have contacted me about wanting to have the opportunity to bid. I'm going to ask you to contact Laura to see how we should do this. Let's not do it. We don't know how to do it. Let's ask her how we should do it, and to offer the most opportunity for our people, and to get it done correctly, and at least to make the townspeople feel that we're doing it, providing the most opportunity to the most people to do that. And I understand that we have set rates, and I think we just need to spell that out in an advertisement. Here's the deal. What would you? And I don't think that's her first rodeo on that either. So
No, it's a.
So my colleagues all set with that?
Yeah, there's been a lot of people inquiring about the bike path.
Yeah.
And the snow removal on that. And they're in town here.
Right.
We should give that an opportunity.
Okay.
And
Right. So I would suggest, Troy, that before we do anything.
Well, see, that's okay. So I'll consult with Laura, but that is one of the, the way it's been done. We have not had much turnover. So typically these contracts, like for the bike path, the person Dalmatian Landscaping, they did the bike path last year.
Right.
And typically they would continue to do the bike path. So the vacancies that I have right now is 2 private plow trucks.
But
Those are
the thing
vacancies
is,
that I have.
Troy, if we're going to do that, we should put this out.
I agree.
everything.
I agree.
Okay. I mean, the idea of just year after year saying, I don't think that we should be doing that without offering, we can mandate that they have a certain piece of equipment to do it. But I think that we need to I don't know that we're within some good territory here, just giving it to somebody without bidding or without request for proposal. that again, I would ask Laura, and for all of it, what should we be doing?
Well, for the simple reason, you know, like Kurt just said, I mean, there's multiple people in town, you know what I mean?
I mean, if we have an equipment, if we own a piece of equipment and we have a driver for it, that's different.
Yeah.
In the, you know, like our 4 trucks here, all we do is hire the driver.
Right, our own trucks. And then the private trucks, we typically someone has a truck and we will fit that truck up.
Correct.
With our plow.
In like the state does.
Yeah.
Okay. So they know that, but they advertise, I believe. And I just want to make sure.
I think it's hard because you're in this situation where you've got certain vendors that have been doing it year after year.
Right.
And I don't know how they were.
Yeah, but that
I don't know how they were
you're getting the
hired.
best price.
Yeah. And I think going forward,
Right.
I was thinking,
You know, and if 2 people come in equal and one of them is the incumbent guy, you give it back to the incumbent for the years of service.
Absolutely.
I was just thinking that going forward, if you have, as we do here, 2 vacancies known, that at least going forward, those 2 vacancies is that we do the public.
I think we need to find out any of our vacancies. I think with the amount of questions that have been asked over the last 2 years, I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure legally that we're doing this correctly and that we offer our own people within town the same opportunity that other people have been offered. If they can, you know, if someone else can do it, you know, the exact same way, they should have that opportunity at least to provide
A proposal.
a proposal for that. And the board should take a look at those.
Okay. Well, let me consult with Laura and see what she.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I don't want to get us. We consult with her. My only fear is, you know, don't want to get ourselves into a situation where we get some people upset and they just, you know.
Well, Troy, you
say,
know,
well, we don't want to do it anymore. We've done it for
I understand.
5 years. And
I understand, but I personally, you know, like we have a fiduciary responsibility to everybody in town, not just to, you know, certain contractors or something. I mean, I don't feel right just awarding things like that. And I understand why it was done. Certainly, we did that in Northwood until someone asked about it, and then we said, okay, that's it, put it out. You know, let people bid. We got the best one for the right price. Okay. Oh, that's it on this one.
that's it.
Administrative report, Mr. Brown.
Okay, we did. We received word last week that our bond application has been approved, both by legal bond counsel and the administrative review by the municipal bond bank. So everything's moving forward. The bond will be sold sometime coming up pretty soon. And I think if everything goes well, we'll have the bond funds transferred to our account right around June 14th, June 15th. So notified the contractors, pretty much the whole fire station team, to let them know that funding is coming soon. So just, you know, I think the selectmen are aware, but anyone watching this evening, you need to understand that until we have the funding in hand, the town's not able to make any commitments to the construction manager.
Right, and that's fine.
And even the architect and engineering crew, there's certain things on hold. So this project you may see it start up. The site work, the tree clearing and site work could start up fairly quickly. And then we may have a period of time where there's no activity as we're trying to secure contracts to start the framing and actual construction later, probably in the late summer.
Sure.
So that's the way I foresee this going forward.
Excellent.
The auditors are in this week. They are in today. We've been working with them, just giving them information last week, but physically they're in the building today, tomorrow, and possibly on Wednesday if need be. Dave Mellon, the transfer station director, has informed me that they have put up a new sign down at the transfer station. Take a look at it. He was able to get that sign funded 100%. by New Hampshire the Beautiful grant. So he painted the frame, the sign frame. He'd done some landscaping around the
Looks
barn.
nice.
Looked nice. I saw one by it
Looks
today. It
very
looks
nice.
actually good.
That guy is like
So,
awesome.
I know. Isn't he incredible?
He always finds a way.
We're pretty lucky.
We're very lucky. We're pretty lucky. Very lucky.
Training. One of the things that I was able to make contact at one of these stormwater meetings that I attended actually last fall, and the EPA, Region 1 out of Boston, they were looking to try to do some outreach to communities, smaller communities that have this MS4 stormwater management permit. And they asked me, what do you think you could have some help with? And I told them that we need to go out and identify where all of our outlet pipes are when, I have our stormwater catch basins and then all go somewhere, right? And we're supposed to identify that in the next round of permitting. So we're going to have training. Jack and myself, his laborer was unfortunately out on an injury right now, but they're coming up. They're going to train us on how to use this handheld GPS unit, and they will loan that unit to us for about a month so we can go out in the field and try to identify all the outlets, take some GPS coordinates, and do some notes in the field of what it is, the condition of it, and location and stuff. So that's good. That's what we'll be doing Wednesday. And MRI study, DPW feasibility study. We're starting that next Tuesday, May the 22nd. There'll be a representative of MRI here in town. I'm trying to coordinate as many meetings as I can with the representatives, and anything that's missed, we'll just have to follow up by phone conversations. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Selectmen reports. Mr. Weber.
Nothing to report at this time. The next planning board meeting's tomorrow evening.
Okay. I just got back from, I attended the Primex. Primex is our liability and workers' comp insurer. They have an annual risk management conference and seminar at the Mount Washington and Bretton Woods. And I attended for the 2 days, and also a New Hampshire Fire Chiefs meeting on the third day up there. Very, very, some excellent seminars and very good programs that they put on, and high-powered speakers. And I'm pretty proud of what we do. The best, you go in a conference like that, and I'm any of you that the majority of the benefit is the networking that you get from people that you don't know, that and you find out sometimes you come home and you kiss the ground because and I've found that out that we're doing very well in this town. I'm very happy with that. And when I network and talk to other people in other municipalities, I'm pretty proud of what we're doing. So I'll keep going to those conferences because I come back with a smile, but boy. Also, I attended the meeting a week ago with the fire department, Troy, the Ekman representatives, and Mr. Charbonneau on the site work for the new fire station. And he is being exceptionally accommodating to us. And we will probably have all the site work done.
So, Mr. Charbonneau.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, he's quite an asset to town, and he's done a lot of good things for the town, and he's continuing to do so. He's assisting us in that project. So pretty happy to see that, and we thanked him.
On the same note, I forgot to mention, I do believe that we receive they call it the AOT permit, which is a permit issued by the state for any commercial project that exceeds 2 acres in size. So it's alteration of terrain. It refers to it as AOT. And that was a big hurdle to get that in place before the shovel can hit the ground, or you looked at serious fines. So I believe that what I received from an email today from the engineering firm is that has been approved with some conditions, but it's approved.
Excellent. So, other than that, Mr. Bork. were you
No
able
big
to-
happenings on conservation.
I'm sorry?
No big happenings.
Okay.
It's conservation.
Well, and you saw our recreation today with the river access. That's been our
Okay.
discussion point for everything.
Okay. All right. Next item. If I can get my computer to cooperate. Maybe it's not the computer. Okay. There were no items removed from the consent calendar. There were no other business items added. Next board meeting, Monday, May 21st or Monday, June 11th? June 11th is our normal.
I see June.
Right, so the
Unless something
problem
big
is
comes up.
May, we have Memorial Day and that's a
Right.
scheduled meeting. I don't believe we have to have a meeting on the
And
21st.
I don't either. How about if we leave it like this, that if there are issues
Yeah.
that require a meeting, I'll call a special meeting and just let me know.
Yeah, there is the, there's going to be something that's probably going to catch us requiring the bond.
That's
Yep.
fine.
So
We can meet
there
on
may
that
be
then.
like a quick,
Right, we'll
10-minute
do,
meeting where we have to
we'll
sign
do what
some
we have to
documents for the
do.
bond.
And certainly we have that ability to meet
Yeah.
on a short notice. And something of that magnitude, I'm sure we'll all be here when we can. So. All right, so we will not be meeting
So our next,
until June 11th. And
June
at
11th.
that point, I will not be at the June 11th meeting, but I will be at the second one. Be in Alaska.
Alaska.
Mhm.
Beautiful country.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Okay, no other business, so we do have some items that, for non-public. And so what we'll do is go into non-public session. When we come out of non-public, all we will do is take a vote to adjourn. So at this point, I will ask for a motion to go into non-public session. Under
piece of paper.
exceptions for RSA 91A:32A compensation and RSA 91A:32D buying and leasing of real property.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bork,
Second.
multiple second by Mr. Weber. We'll give it to Mr. Weber. And a roll call vote. Mr. Weber,
Yes.
I say yes.
Yes.
And all four are yes. So I thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We're currently going into non-public session, and it is 7:19 p.m. So thanks again, and we will see you June 11th, unless we have a special meeting before.
1 month. Oof.